Hello, everybody. Today we continue discussing autonomy in language learning. And here am I with Dina Maria Salate. And we are going to continue discussing that topic. But today we have a special focus on metacognition. We're going to discuss some this factor and five points of view regarding autonomy and metacognition. I would like you to tell me what do you think is metacognition? What do you think metacognition is related to?
Yes, hello Freddy. Thank you so much for inviting me to this space. And let's talk about this interesting topic because metacognition is something about how we can learn and the reflection about the process that we can do.
Yeah, actually, today we are discussing about Anderson 2005. This author considers that metacognition is related to thinking about thinking. So it's a conscious process where the learner they understand their feelings, also what happened in their minds while they are learning a language in this case. And this process results in a critical but healthy reflection and evolution of the thinking. That's the like the concept of metacognition for this author. And finally, this process ends up in some specific changes and related to how learning is managed and some strategies for the purpose of learning in general. So that's metacognition. And according to this author, there are five elements to take or consider in this process. So we need to remember that metacognition is also connected to autonomy in language learning. That was the topic we were discussing last time. Well, I'm going to give you some ideas about these five steps or five procedures, and you're going to tell me your experience if you have used them in your lessons or what have been your experience regarding these five elements. Well, I'm going to start by number one. It is preparing and planning for learning. Well, this is connect or linkage, the linked to prior knowledge activation. Well, here is important for learners to have background knowledge. Usually, we tend to do some kind of previous knowledge activities to activate the students to the lesson that we are going to start. And here is important the background knowledge from students. If the students they don't have this background knowledge, teachers are expected to motivate or to create this background knowledge. So, what is background knowledge? It is about life experience, cultural experience, and also that the students contrast the native language with the target language. So, the understanding of both and that contrast. And finally, some skills related to argumentation. So, have you ever used in your lessons something about it?
Yes, preparing and planning for learning. Yes. All the time I try to use this strategy because it's very important to know what are the previous knowledge that the students have. So with this, we can start, and as you told me, we can motivate. So depending if they don't have knowledge or previous knowledge for the topic, so we can motivate and we can start to work with them.
Actually, I agree. I consider this point essential to motivate the students. If the students are close to the topic, if they consider that this topic is close to their experiences, they will consider this as interesting, and they will be motivated to continue to the next stage, that is the development of the lesson. Well, regarding
Yeah.
the second point, selecting and using strategies. Well, in this case, there are many metacognitive strategies that we can use, or many strategies, specific strategies for learning. Every person has different learning styles, for example. Every person has some, I don't know, some acceptance, sorry, for different activities in different ways. For example, some people learn better when they hear, others prefer speaking practice, others are better in writing or reading or different skills. In this case, students are expected to have different strategies for different ways to learn, and so that they can choose the best strategy for their own learning. This is a conscious process about the learning process. So when they understand how they learn better, they can implement these strategies. But it's necessary that they know this one. So in this case, the role of the teacher is to offer the different strategies for an autonomous process of learning. In my experience, I'm gonna start by this point. I haven't used this kind of strategies for my students in elementary school, for example. I consider difficult to apply this with children. For adults or maybe teenagers is a bit more, it's easier, and I have tried to do it, to apply this kind of metacognition. But what has been your experience, or and if you haven't used this, how do you consider you could or can use this?
Okay. When I prepare my classes, I try to use different strategies to motivate the students to learn, because if I use just one strategy, it's all the same all the time, and the same strategy doesn't work all the time with all students. For each classroom, we have 40 students, uh, from 30 to 40 students, and it's very difficult to use the same strategy all the time because it doesn't work with all. So we have to implement different strategies and try to motivate the whole group.
You're right. I consider the most difficult part to make the children conscious about the existence or of these strategies. Well, to be honest, when I use different strategies, in fact, but I have never teach them about the strategies that they could use. I just use it or use them. But what you say is clear. Every student is different, so they deserve, sorry, the possibility or the option to have these strategies, so that they can choose in a future which strategy fits better their processes. Good. So let's move on to the number three, monitoring learning. Well, monitoring learning is about recognizing um, when the students are not doing well in their processes. And this is the option to stop their own processes and think of a better way to learn. It's an autonomous process to understand if they are understanding the process, or if they are doing or implementing the correct strategies, and stop and reformulate their activities. Um, Again, I consider this difficult to teach them this kind of strategies for children. I consider it very difficult. In fact, what is your opinion about this? Have you ever used this? Have you ever taught this part to your students?
Yes, I think that it is really important that the student makes a reflection about if he or she is learning or no, because he or she can pay attention and in the class know about the topic or memorize something, but he or she is really understanding. So the students have to make the question, they have to make the reflection, and for this I try to implement some self evaluations in order to they can they can notice if they are learning or no, they understand the topic or no, and they have to be honest.
Okay. So actually, I consider this for this part to implement, for example, journals, field diaries, and thinking aloud protocols. So these kind of activities that are reflective activities can be implemented first individually, and then uh, we can organize different groups to exchange ideas. So, and again, exchange so that they share their ideas about their own processes, and in a collaborative way they can exchange and also reformulate their activities if it is necessary.
Mhm.
Well, number four, in this case, is about orchestrating strategies. Well, orchestrating strategies is similar to the organization of the multiple options in strategies. So, in here, it's important that students understand that there are different strategies for them to learn English. In this case, specific case, and the teacher offers them a positive environment to understand these multiple strategies and how to integrate them, because these strategies are not like different strategies for each part of the class, or one strategy for this part, one strategy for this other. They are integrated, and it's a natural process to use one strategy or maybe two or three strategies at the same time for one task. This is natural. So we need to consider this process of integration as not a linear process that we have to step by step achieve, but a process in which we can implement multiple strategies in the learning process. Have you ever used this? Have you recognized this work from your students?
Yes, when I prepare a class, I try to follow step by step, and they are connected. All are connected. So each part of the class has to be connected with the other. For example, when I use the warm up is connected with the topic for this day. And then I'm going to do the presentation and the practice, the production with the students, but all parts are connected. So students
Mhm.
have to recognize different these different parts, and they have to make the reflection about each part if they are learning, they are understanding in
Here is
each.
here there is something important you have said, and is that reflexive process. So it's important to discuss with the students, to allow the students discuss um, with the other students and also with us as teachers about their processes, about how are they learning, um, what is the best way they understand, what are the strategies they use for a listening exercise, for example. It's important that they exchange those ideas, and I consider it essential for the learning process. Well, the final one is evaluating learning. It is linked to the previous one actually. But this is considered like in terms of self evaluation to understand the students' learning process effectiveness. So in this part, some discussion is also practical for this stage or for this part. But the most important is to allow the students to exchange and also to produce in the target language, and at the same time to uh, to save or to understand and share with the teacher if they are learning very well or they are having some problems. A good example is when we, at the end of the term, we make some questions to the students about if they think they have learned, or if they think if they have worked perfectly during the term, and then we consider those ideas. But I think we can also use the target language for these, and we can implement also projects like video recordings, for example, where the students explain if what have been the effective points during the term, or what or are the weaknesses for them in this term, and they produce in the target language. Do you use this reflective part of the autonomy?
Yeah, in all my classes, I use the closure at the end. And in this part, I can know if students understand and recognize the topics in the class. So I make different questions from the topic, and at the end of the term, I implement an evaluation about all topics that we saw during the term.
Very good. I think that's the conclusion, the definition of this part, this discussion. Why you consider is important to implement metacognitive strategies or thinking on the students? Is it important for learning English?
Yes, it is important because we have to follow a process. So we can't do the things in different ways, but I don't know. So without an order, so we have to make a specific process, and we need to have an order
Hmm.
um, to have the things. So
Yeah,
to do the things.
it also is connected with that conscious process of learning.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
I think it's essential that the students understand the process in their minds, When a good learner understands how they learn better and what are they feeling in the moment, they can choose the best strategies, the best way to learn, and they also understand the target language. They contrast their native language with the target language, and they make this process, this conscious process inside their minds, and they produce something that's the final outcome that we as teachers need. Okay, thanks so
Yeah.
much, Lina, for your opinions, and that's it for this moment. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
thanks for
you.
you.
So see
Okay.
you
See you.
in the
Bye.
next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.